to the Bridge the Gap podcast. Here's your host, Dustin Udke.
Welcome in, everybody, another episode of Bridge the Gap. Tonight we're going to be talking all things sports cards and fantasy football, how you can look at one to gain some information from the other. It's going to be a fun show. I've got a great guest tonight. You've seen them all over the fantasy care streets, doing obby makers, all kinds of stuff. Our top shelf breaks, one of my favorite breakers to watch. Steven Johnson, Steven Roto on Twitter. Steven, how's it going tonight?
Hey, fantastic. It's an awesome Tuesday night. I tell you, my days have been slowly getting mixed up the more I just get more into football mode. And I'm like, It's only Tuesday, but we're almost a week out from actual football. So I'm very excited, but thanks for having me. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, it was weird because we had games, this past weekend. We have nothing this week, right? And it's Labor Day, Memorial Day, one of those. I think it's Memorial Day. I can't remember which one's which. Labor Day. See, there you go. I don't know. We got off on Monday. We've got no football this week. Cuts happened today, some surprising ones. So I'm looking forward to football. I agree with you. It's just kind of like I'm ready for the season to start Thursday, and I still have another week. So before we get into talking all things sports car, Steven, tell them where they can find you, what you got coming up, going on out there on your spaces.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at Steven_Roto. Same with Instagram as well. It's just Steven_Roto everywhere. Helping out with Fantasy Cares and Scott Fishbowl. So we're just winding down as we near the season on all the fun with that, with the SFB merch and Avi Makers and the lives and everything else to help raise money for Fantasy Cares, Toys for Tots, and a lot of other great organizations. And then Top Shelf Breaks. There we go, right there. Yep. Breaking for Top Shelf Breaks and TopShelfBreaks.com. A couple nights a week, the latest sports cards with CK here in Elgin, Illinois. So been a fun time. Been doing that since about February, but been collecting for much longer than that. But yeah, it's a fun time.
Yeah, and check out Top Shelf Breaks. They're fun. You guys break almost every night, it seems, every night of the week for the most part, between you and CK. Always on there. You guys do everything. Backs of baseball, football, basketball, wrestling, whatever people kind of want. You're in there. Lively chat. You guys do some giveaways sometime, and we'll be breaking some packs open later, discussing some of the players. So stick around if you're into sports card. Maybe if we hit something good, we'll give it away to some of our viewers or something.
There you
go. I don't know if you've watched the show, but we start every show with a fun little game.
What exactly is the game?
Well, it is not a quiz or a trivia contest, nor is it a test of brute strength or athleticism. At its core, it's just a children's game, and I would wager that some of you here this evening have played Would You Rather?
Classic game of Would You Rather. Steven, I've got a Would You Rather for you, kind of linked around the sports card space. Obviously, the memorabilia sports cards are big. So would you rather sign autographs for 8 hours, which is what a lot of these athletes do? They go to these warehouses and just sign autographs. So sign autographs for 8 hours, or wait in line for 4 hours to get your favorite two players' autographs?
I think honestly, I would rather sit there and sign for 8 hours. There's certain things that are worth waiting that long for, and I would not put an autograph in that realm. If it was the only way I could ever get that without, say, opening up the wallet and paying an exorbitant amount of money for it on something. Because I mean that's the big thing these days is you get a lot of people, whether it's at the airports or tracking down people in the parking lot after games or wherever to get them to sign. Like if I want a signature, I want it on something legitimate, and so it's between going and finding that item and having them sign it, or you just work with whatever you got lying around. And you don't necessarily want to do that either. When it comes to autographs for me, I want it on something specific. Yeah. So I would definitely say I'd go with the carpal tunnel syndrome and go 8 hours.
That's what I was thinking. Like my hand is already hurting just thinking about. I mean, 8 hours is, and that's why I think we see a lot of these modern autographs are very small and short because they are doing like a couple letters and it's very quick. I went to Bill's training camps growing up, so I have T-shirts and flags with a bunch of the guys, and I don't even know who half of them are anymore. I have a bunch of Jim Kelly autographs. Jim Kelly is a full. You can read a Jim Kelly, and he loops the Y and puts a 12 in it. We don't see those anymore now. Nowadays, like scribble, and it's like a scribble and a dash, and it's like, okay, this is so and so. I agree with you. I would rather sign for 8 hours. I don't think waiting in line for 4 hours, unless you're right, unless it's the only way I could get their autographed. You know, if you're telling me like, hey, this guy only signs at these events and you have to wait, and it's the only way you're going to get it. But I'm not the only person waiting 4 hours. Like, there's hundreds of people, obviously, to make me wait 4 hours. Most of those people are not, collectors, they're resellers. And I think that's what your point is. Like, there's a ton of autographs of everyone out there, which I think is great for fans that you can go get an autograph, but it also kind of devalues the market a little bit when there's just a bazillion autographs of everyone out there.
Right.
I think that's every player's got to make the distinction, like how much are they willing to sign, and how much do they want their autograph out there. I've been watching and looking at all these historical autographs of like, George Washington's hair and all this kind of cool like historical memorabilia. Like, it's crazy to me that getting a piece of like George Washington's hair is more rare than a Tom Brady autograph, but it doesn't covet the same price. Like, those rare things from history just don't covet the same price as our sports heroes. So that is always interesting.
And CK Top Shelf's owner, he has a piece of Michael Jackson's hair, and
Ooh,
he loves that card, like
so
absolutely loves
strange.
that card. And I'm like, how do you know? Like,
You have no clue.
you're
You're
just
just
going
hoping
up to him
Panini
and
told
like
you the
just
truth.
snipping his hair off, or like what's going on? But they put some crazy stuff in cards these days. Like, there's dinosaur fossils in Allen and Ginter.
Yep.
So it's a very unique marketplace out there for a lot of people saying, oh, what can we put in the cards now?
Yeah, I mean, right. I guess if you get a dinosaur bone, I mean, you can shave that into a million pieces and put it in there. So, if you guys are watching, drop a comment on what you would rather do: sign autographs for 8 hours or wait 4 hours for your favorite two players autographed. Steven, tell everybody, when did you get started collecting? How did you get started collecting cards? And how did that passion ignite for you?
So it's kind of a bounce around scenario for me. I collected a lot during the 90s, during the Chicago
Mhm.
Bulls era. And it kills me inside because I have no idea where any of those cards are. And it's tons of Michael Jordan.
Same,
And
yep.
I know there's Kobe Bryant in there, like young Kobe Bryant, young Shaq. Um, and I mean, I had shoe boxes upon shoe boxes. So like 93, 94 is when I really got things moving when it came to my obsession with
Hmm.
collecting, and then actually moved kind of over into the trading card game instead of sports cards for a while, and then bounced back into sports cards about 2015, 2016, when I discovered breaking. And breaking online and streaming and everything that goes into it, and getting in at the right time, because the 2017 NFL class, obviously 2018 just as good, if not
Yep.
better, really, for the overall spectrum of the players that came in. So it's been a lifelong thing.
Yeah, I'm with you in that. In junior high, I worked at a card shop Mondays and Thursday nights. They would pay me $10. I'd work 4 to 8. I made $10 for the night, and they bought me McDonald's, which was across the street, helping the old guy run this card store. Right, it was the era of the Bulls. Emmett Smith, the triplets in Dallas, the Bills going to 4 Super Bowls. So I have a ton of Joe Montana and Troy Aikman and Emmett Smith cards. I collected only football. I wish I had been smarter, or someone had told me back then, because Magic the Gathering came out. We had all the original Magic the Gathering.
Oh
I
yeah.
remember when those came out, it was like, I didn't understand why people loved them. They were the hot thing. And I have cards. I have all kinds of weird inserts. And that was back the day before there was autographs. It was just like weird inserts and clear cards. And everyone was trying something different. I remember I have a set of cards, and every pack had a coin with it. It had players on it. It was like a set of 50 players, and there was coins, and you could put the coin in the card. There's a little cutout in the card, and you could put the coin in.
It was like
I have no
what was the big one? Was it Skydeck that tried a
Yeah,
lot of that
Stock Deck
crazy
was
stuff?
big. Yeah, they had lots of
Um,
Zenith and Pinnacle,
yeah.
and I remember, this is one of my two card stories is, one of my jobs was pricing the packs, and that's what I did. And I remember pricing, it was FX basketball, and they were like $10 a pack. And there was only like 5 cards per pack, and I remember pricing them. And I remember one pack just was wonky, like it just wasn't lined up, like it was packaged weird. And I said to him, I want to buy this pack. He goes, all right, if it's still there at the end of the night, because it was a new product they were selling, he's like, if it's still there at the end of the night, you can buy it. Got it the night, bought it, and it was, they were holographic cards, and opening third card in gold Michael Jordan.
Oh,
So I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just knew And the guy said, so we looked up in Beckett, right? Beckett came out once. We looked at Beckett. Okay, it's new. We don't know. He said, "I hold on to it." Beckett came out the next week. We looked, and it was going for, I think, 150.
Oh
And he
man!
was like,
And back
he's
then, like that's serious coin.
and I'm in junior high. Like I'm in 7th grade. He goes, I'll give you $100 for it. And I was like, done, like sold. And then I just instantly bought boxes because I could only buy packs at the time. Like I'm looking like I've got $10. These packs are $2.50. I got a $5 pack. It's like $100. I could buy boxes of cards. I don't even know what I bought, but to this day I just forget. Like, man, if I only still had that card.
Well, and now the question is like, how often have you actually looked at the value of that card since?
Never.
Out of pure fear, or
Not a pure fear. It's that card, and then 2017, my son was like, "I want to buy sports cards," so we went to the local shop that is no longer there, and they sold packs, and I bought him like the cheap, $5 pack that had 60 cards in it, right? Just because he knew he was gonna trash them, and I was like, "Oh, what are these?" I was like, "Oh, I think it was Prism," and I was like, "Oh, I'll buy a pack." Bought it. It was like $11. I was like, "I haven't bought a pack in years." Took it home, opened it, got this rookie card, autographed rookie parallel of this young quarterback that I knew very little about named Patrick Mahomes. So I look on eBay like we do, and it was selling for $75. So I was like, okay, I'll list it on eBay for $150, right? Like it's selling for 75. So I'm sitting on the couch one night and my phone starts dinging, ding, ding, ding. I'm like, what's going on? I'm getting all these offers on the card, $100, $75. I'm like, what's going on? I look, oh, the Chiefs released Alex Smith. Patrick Mahomes is going to take over the second year. So I'm like, okay. Guy offered me 125 for it. And I was like, I paid $11 for this pack. Done. Done deal. I refuse to look up that card because I know. You just know it's like a $10,000 card now, right?
Well, hold on. I just out of sheer curiosity. I mean, I have to.
You have to.
Okay. Yeah, don't.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, just don't.
don't do it.
What's even worse is then I
goodness.
bought a case of something and I got a Christian McCaffrey rookie card. And I think I sold that for like $75. Because right, it was rookie year, he was injured. It was just like, and now I look back, I'm like, oh, just don't look at, because I know that Patrick Mahomes card is thousands of dollars. Like not even like a little bit of thousands of dollars. It's 10 to 20 to $150,000 card, right? If I would have got it graded. I didn't really know. I was new into the sport. I was like, oh, I paid $11 for this pack. And that's the way I look at it. I paid $11 for the pack and I made $125. I'm good.
You're in the green. You're in the green.
I'm in the green. That's all that mattered. I use it to buy other packs and have some fun. And I still have some cards. I still have a few Mahomes rookies, and I got this really nice dual patch auto of Cooper Kupp, Jared Goff that I really like. So that's where I'm at. So let's talk about it. We both grew up in the 80s, 90s. What was it like collecting back then? How has it changed from then to now? So what's the difference now between now and then between card collecting?
I mean, I'd say the biggest thing, and then there's a couple different things. I think right now compared to back then, there's a significant, much larger emphasis put on the patches and the autographs in all of the sets. I mean, that's what you are chasing now, and that just did not exist at this scale like it did back then. I mean, yeah, there were autographs; they were a lot harder to come by.
The chase for Frank Thomas, I remember that.
Yeah, and the fact that it has shifted so significantly, just in that regard. But not only that, and then you also look again, like you have your local card shops that they're selling boxes. They've got the giant storage boxes just full, mostly of junk wax from the 80s. And now you're seeing a pretty seismic shift where you still have those local card shops, but it's not as sprawling as they used to be. They've cut back on their inventory, and a lot of them have also turned to breaking. And that's just what it is, where they are not just focused in on their local market. They can sell to anybody, and I think just from an evolution standpoint, that is incredible. That you're all of a sudden talking with people from California, from Florida, from New York, and all over that are tuning in to watch you in Illinois, and it's one of those crazy things that I've met a lot of cool people that way, and it's just something that never would have been done. It would have been through like the networking groups at the national, and that's it. And even then, that it was still kind of weird. with how that used to be. So, it's definitely changed, honestly, for the better. Some people will disagree with some of that, but I definitely think it's changed for the better.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think back to the 90s. My mom at one point was on a mission to get every Bills player ever a rookie card. And when you're talking about those cards from the 50s and 60s, they were hard to find because you didn't
Oh
have
yeah.
the network. You didn't have online where you could go look. I think, obviously the internet has changed a lot of things. And remember when eBay started, that changed the game because now if you were looking for a card, you could, Jim Kelly USFL rookie card used to be a couple $100. Now it's 25, $50, if that, because now you can, the supply hasn't changed. It was always there. It's the
Right.
demand was never as big. You just couldn't find them because if you didn't know someone who collected them, it was just, that was the way it went. So I do agree with you that the chase for autographs and patches has collected. I really love people that chase rainbows, which for those who don't know, rainbow is getting all the parallels of the same card, which I think is totally fun. So when I worked at the card shop, starting lineups became a thing.
Mm.
And I remember, and let's go back to your Bulls, Dennis Rodman one year came out and they had different color hairstyles. And every case had one Dennis Rodman, and it was either like blue, green, white, or pink. And I think pink was like one out of every 10 cases. And I remember like Toys R Us and KB Toys used to have to snip the corners of the packages because collectors would go to KB Toys and buy them up, very much like we see with people at Target and Walmart now. We were talking about this before the show. And I remember we'd get cases and people would call and they knew our cases would come. Like, hey, did you get your case? What color hair do you have? I'm like, oh, we got a blue today. Oh, we got a green today. I was like, oh, we got a pink. Okay, I'll save it for me. And that was like, and that really fueled that chase of like, I need to get all the hairstyles. I remember, certain cards. There was a infamous Dennis Rodman card where pretty sure you could see his dangle in it when he was dunking on someone. I remember that card. There's the old the guy with the bat that says "FU" on it. Like there was
Yeah.
always those sort of like misprints or clever little things that people sought after. I remember Magic came out and we used to have we had drawers for cards. We had drawers just full of Magic cards. And he would, I'm looking for this, certain card to complete my deck. And it's like, okay, let's dig through this box. And I remember digging through weird boxes of all the different sets. And, people would come in with their checklist of I need card 72 of 94 Fleer. It's like, okay, let's find it. That's what I used to do a lot of my time was just I would sort cards and go, hey, take a box and just sort them in numerical order. You're right, it has changed. It's focused on the autos, the patches, and then the number chasing is huge, right? You don't want, to 99 to 199 is not great. Sometimes they're to 500 or 200, but if you can get the ones to 25 or 10, if you can get their jersey number, if you can get 10 out of 10, like you always say is the eBay 101.
25s or
what the one of whatever. Yeah. And I know, I got into the NFT collecting a little bit with Top Shots for basketball. It was, well, this number's big in China. So the, sevens are big in China's or whatever it was, and that'll be coming out. It just has definitely changed a lot. What's the most recent trend you say? Have you seen any trends recently in sports cards that you think is like where we're headed or we're kind of where we're going? We know Panini kind of lost their license and Fanatics has taken over. Any shift with that?
Yeah, it's kind of a purgatory period really for the licensing altogether, where I hate saying it this way, but Fanatics has really monopolized the sports apparel and memorabilia market. Not to a significant extent, but to a pretty strong extent. I mean, they run the stores for every major league in in North America. But I'd say the biggest thing right now is kind of that shift where NBA and NFL took the license from Panini, and they just got done with a big court case where Fanatics actually has to pay Panini because it was done illegally. And so they still have their license for, I believe it's another year, but it's created this weird situation where you have guys like Michael Penix and Roma Dunze and JJ McCarthy who have signed with Panini, but then you have Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams who signed with Fanatics. And so you're not going to have autographed rookie cards in Panini of those players. And it's a frustrating thing where, Fanatics is still putting out, or Topps is still putting out rookie cards, but they don't have any of the NFL logos. It just says Chicago or New England, it doesn't hit the same that it should. So that's really the big one now, is just to see how much stuff Panini is going to be putting out, because it's kind of been hit or miss right now. And yeah, I know it's a little bit more difficult when you don't have the full license ability for both the NFL and the NBA. But that's kind of the big question on everybody's minds is it going to be as consistent where there's like a new release every month? Are they going to cut it back? Are they going to focus more on memorabilia? Because they have some really fantastic memorabilia lineups in surprise boxes, mini helmets, footballs, you name it. It's called Under Wraps. I mean, the checklists are phenomenal. And I think that you're going to see a shift maybe more towards that, just because they have the ability to do it, and they do it really well. Really well.
Yeah. Now, you bring up a good point. So if you are looking to get into sports collecting, I think there's two things you need to know. One, who is with Panini and who is with Fanatics/Topps this year.
Yep.
So if you're looking at a break, you're like, oh, I'll buy the Chicago Bears. They seem really cheap. Well, is Caleb Williams or Roman Nuzzi in that set with the autograph or not? And then the difference between hobby and retail. So those who don't know, retail is the stuff you find at Target, Walmart, those shops. Hobby is the stuff you find at your card shops, or a lot of these like card shops online, like Top Shelf.
Right.
You know, they sell hobby boxes, and generally hobby produces the better hits, which are the better big cards. So your bigger name players are going to be in the retail. You'll still get, the box may say you're guaranteed one auto or memorabilia. So this contenders we're going to break later has an autograph or memorabilia in here, but it's probably not going to be an Anthony Richardson or CJ Stroud. It's going to be, it might be an alignment. It might be it might be a Zach Wilson. It might be one of those lower tier guys. But if you collect those guys, that's great. It just depends on know what you're getting into, so you don't make that mistake of I'm going to go buy all these retail boxes for $25 and expect to see the top name rookies. You might get their base cards. You may get one or two hits, but you're going to get the 1 to 500 number, or maybe they're not numbered at all. You're not going to see the 1 of 1s or the 1 of 10s or 1 of 25s generally in your retail. Hobby's going to cost you more because of that. What other things do fantasy football players need to know if they want to get into sports card collecting?
I think the biggest thing is do your research. With the different sets, they vary significantly on not only the number of cards that come with, but the different types. And really, I like to tier them in terms of the sets, because there's very sought after sets. There's your middle of the road, and then there's your entry level stuff. And for the move from retail, which is your blaster boxes, you'll see megas that are a little bit bigger in size. You have your hanger packs that are just like the single packs. And then, like you mentioned, the hobby, where you were guaranteed patches and autographs. You're not necessarily guaranteed that when it comes to the retail products. So it's an odds game. I don't want to paint it in a negative light, but you're taking a gamble. You truly are taking a gamble when you get into it. And so you really just need to sit back and kind of get a lay of the land of what's coming out, what's the hot products, what you have a better shot at maybe for the bang for your buck. And then just kind of see, what is out there in terms of, the break side too. If you don't want to buy boxes outright and say, I just want everything, just to collect, or if you're chasing after people, you can specifically go out and buy teams in a break. You can do random teams. Sometimes that's even cheaper. Or you can buy packs outright that are a part of a hobby box. So there's a lot of different things that you can do to really get started at different price points, where, you can get the hanger packs for $7, or you can hop in and spend $100 and, get into a whole bunch of hobby boxes and, have a chance. Again, it's a gamble to potentially get autographs and higher cost cards, with, whoever is running breaks.
Yeah, and I'll agree with you. And I think it goes back to very much like fantasy football. Why are you doing it? Why do you play fantasy football? Are you playing for the fun of it, or are you playing fantasy football to make money? I think cards is the same way. If you're in it just to collect because you like the sport and you want, like me, I want Bills players, or Andrew Cooper. I just brought him a bunch of tight ends because he's the tight end guy. So I took him a bunch at the expo. Just like all my tight ends I had, I was like, here's all the tight ends and Patriots. If you're in it for that, then you can buy some of the entry level pieces. You don't have to spend up. But if you're in it to try to make money of like, I'm going to buy this player now, and then hopefully in a year or two it's worth money, or I'm going to save, I'm going to save the Jaden Daniels rookie cards and hope that in 10 years he's an all-star and, he retires in 15 years and it's worth $10,000. That's a big gamble. So it all about is why you're getting into it. And if you are going to enter money, you are better off, chasing the hobby boxes, some of those higher tier ones, spending up for those players. You can get those, was it exquisite and all those like top end ones where it's like, in
National
cases and
treasures,
national
flawless.
treasures. Yeah.
Yeah.
With like national treasures, like every other box seems like there's a 101 in, right? Like, and it's just going to be something crazy
I,
banger that even if you don't want it, you can flip, right?
yeah. I mean, with those, I mean, I think it's every case you're guaranteed at least one of
One.
one, which, it could be great, could be really bad. Like
Yeah.
you never really know.
No.
It's again, there've been a lot of times, I've watched guys open $3,000 worth of cards. There's one set in particular. It's called Panini One. And the reason
Yep.
why it's called Panini One is because there is one card in that box and
Yep.
it is $400. And so, I mean, you can go in there and I watched guys spend $400 on, those cards. And it's been like a Jalen Hyatt out of 299.
Yeah.
Like you can have that, or you can, pull a 1-on-1 CJ Stroud. Like you
Yep.
never know. And it's crazy.
It's a gamble, right? Not every pack can have the hits. Like there has to be Jalen Hyatts for there to be CJ Strouds. They can't all
Exactly.
be CJ Strouds, right? So that's the risk you're doing. So if you're a fantasy football player, what I recommend is find the guys that you like or that you think are going to do well. If you're in it for money, find the guys that you think are going to do well that are maybe undervalued in fantasy football. So maybe your Drake Mays, your Bo Nix, maybe some of those guys who are undervalued, or if you're a deep fantasy football player like me, maybe a Spencer Rattler, right, who might have a starting job maybe midseason next year, right, and maybe invest in those cards cheap now because they might go up.
Yeah.
How can a card collector use their knowledge from card collecting to get into fantasy football?
Oh, I think it kind of goes along the lines of with the way the checklists go with card collecting. There are very few sets where they're going to go deep on players where it's just like, who the heck is this? And then you never hear of them again. Is that card collecting is also going after players that have value at that given time. And so that's one way to look at it, where you can say, okay, well, for this team checklist, it's really weird that they chose these players. There must be some type of reason why they're going after these players to sign for their set. And then the other big thing too is just kind of watching the values as well. Like everything is run through eBay these days. Like eBay is the new Beckett magazine, where, monitoring these prices, you can see the fluctuations. It is very reactive, but sometimes it's not. And things will just vault up, and it kind of gives you like this hype feeling of like, okay, maybe we have something here. People are getting really excited about this guy, and it kind of helps you understand the landscape a little bit better, maybe broaden your knowledge of who is available, who's playing the game right now, and you can transfer that over depending on how far you want to get into the weeds on all of that information.
Yeah, I agree. I think card prices definitely relate more to a dynasty style of
Yeah.
things. So when you look at, you know, Bo Nix, he may not be the greatest name right now, but if his cards start creeping up because preseason, to like he is reactive, you
Yep.
go, okay, is this card worth okay, I see where his value is going up. Maybe he's worth a stash later. And then I think it is reactive in the sense of, especially once we get to playoffs, of this guy's in the playoff, they're making a deep run. A Brock Purdy or Baker Mayfield last year, who wasn't expected to make a deep run, all of a sudden made a run. And I think we saw his card prices creep up, a couple dollars, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's definitely indicative of the sentiment. I've been saying a lot of people this whole offseason that I believe in Will Levis this year, and I know you're kind of down on the Titans office, but if you are a sports card collector and you see Will Levis's cards start to creep up, that probably means that there's sediment somewhere that they think Will Levis is going up. So me as a fantasy player, if I think Will Levis is going to have a great year and take that next step, then I would expect his cards to do the same thing. So if his cards are maybe selling for $1 now, maybe they sell for $2 at the end of the season, and maybe next year they're 3, 5, 10, 15, whatever it is. I know people that bought Tom Brady rookie cards back in the day for 25 cents.
Yep.
Now his base rookie card is a couple $100. I mean, part of that's just scarcity, right? Brock Purdy doesn't have a ton of cards out there because he
wasn't even in a
Mr.
lot of the
Irrelevant.
early sets. I mean, he was Mr. Irrelevant. I mean, it's one of those things, like, you just don't know. Same with Puka Nacua.
Yeah, you just don't know.
It all of a sudden he is a headliner in your set.
Yeah.
And who would have guessed that at the beginning of the year when, the first few sets were coming out?
He is on this pack, and
That he
at this
is.
point, we had no clue, right? Like Contenders comes out late in the year, late in the season. They knew that Puka Nacua was a big name, so I think that's how you can look at if you're a sports card person who wants to get into fantasy. You can look at who sells for more is a good way of judging, right? Roughly, I think, especially in Dynasty, right? A CJ Stroud versus Bryce Young, CJ Stroud sells more because he is better at fantasy. And you can look at that and go, even when you get more to the tighter niches of who's better, Jordan Love or CJ Stroud, I'm not sure whether I know, but I assume CJ Stroud probably sells for a little bit more because there's probably a little more hype around CJ Stroud. And CJ Stroud is getting
Yep.
drafted above Jordan Love. So if you know nothing about fantasy and you're just in the sports card collecting space, that's how you can utilize that knowledge that you have of prices for fantasy. So there isn't a direct correlation, but it's close enough. And that's why we want to have these conversations of a lot of us who play fantasy football also collect. A lot of people who collect play fantasy football. And I think there is a direct correlation between the two.
Yeah,
Let's
and,
talk
and
about
I
some
mean, even
people.
even just to
Go
that
ahead.
point, real quick, too, is like you mentioned Jordan Love, and maybe we'll get to this in a second, but a lot of people weren't picking him up because they thought like, okay, he's sitting behind Aaron Rodgers, no one really knows who this is, and a lot of people just got bored with it
Yep.
and said, screw it, we're not going to, hold on to all these. It's because it's a long-term investment too. Like that's
This.
the big thing, especially from the card game. So it's interesting, especially with those quarterbacks that sit for a long period of time.
Yes. And one last point with card collecting, and I think it there's some parallels in fantasy. Play with reputable people, with reputable commissions who aren't going to steal your entry fee. And when you're buying cards, buy from a reputable site. Top Shelf Breaks, that people vouch for. When you buy from sketchy people, like we saw it with, there was that one big collector that bought the basketball and it was like a repackage. It
Oh
was
yeah.
I saw that like Twitter, like he spent like $30,000 on it, and it was through a second person, and it was a repackage, and there was like different years cards. So make sure you're buying from reputable people, from your local card shop, right? Obviously, shop local, I think that's huge. But if you're gonna get into breaks, make sure you're getting with reputable people who are honest with their breaks, who show everything on camera, and who aren't selling you sketchy packets. In my general think, if it's too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true.
Yeah, and that's definitely the case because I mean you look at like what Panini is doing, what Topps is doing, what Fanatics, Upper Deck, even and Leaf, they have these
Yeah.
programs that connect with local card shops specifically,
Sure.
and you are expected to hold yourself to a higher standard, and if you don't,
Yep.
you could lose that licensing. I mean, you could lose that opportunity
Yeah.
to purchase cards at a significantly lower price. And it would ruin your business, plain and simple.
Yeah.
Like there's a reputation to uphold with those groups, and then you have like the whatnots of the world
Yes.
that it's dudes in a basement that are buying things off the shelves at your local department store, and that's it.
Yeah, they open the packs and repackage them and sell them, and they seal them back up. I agree with you. You have to find a reputable source. Breaking is a fun way to get into it, especially for minimal cost. It's always fun to open, and it's fun to watch breaks, right? Because it's the thrill of opening packs. We don't have to do it yourself, and you only get certain cards. You're not taught, I've got these 5 packs. There's 8 cards per pack. What am I going to do with these cards after that? So, Steven, give us a couple players that you think their cards will rise in value this year based on their fantasy performance.
Well, I mean, when it comes to cards, I mean, rookies are king.
Yep.
That
Rookies are king.
That plain and simple on that. I had written down a couple names because I'm like, it's hard to really get a feel for everything. Jackson Smith and Jigba is definitely one.
That's a
I
good
think
one.
this year with Seattle, it's going to be a very heavy passing offense, and it's to a point where Tyler Lockett's got to go away at some point, right? It's a prime opportunity for JSN to shine and get things moving. So I'm very hopeful that this will be the year for that. But then just some other cheaper rookies that I think we're going to see an increase. If you can get in on them early enough on some of these earlier sets. I believe Score 24 is the first 2024 set that's coming out, and that's in I think next week. But you have guys like Brian Thomas, Keon Coleman, Xavier Worthy, the wide receivers that were drafted in the first round. but maybe aren't getting as much hype right now, but have an opportunity to really put together a really special rookie season. And then you have, to run some parallels, talking about Patrick Mahomes, no one really knowing who he was in his rookie season because he was sitting behind Alex Smith. You look at Michael Penix down in Atlanta,
Yes.
where you have Kirk Cousins, and Penix is going to be sitting there for a bit. And that's just what it is, that you might be able to take advantage of that from a sports card perspective if you want to start collecting Penix.
Yeah.
Where maybe when he starts to actually play, he could get shoved into play early. We don't know. I mean, Kirk Cousins isn't exactly a spring chicken either. But there's windows of opportunity that I think really need to be looked at for what collecting is, and just overall, you look at sleepers. You're looking for sleepers. That's
Sleepers. Yeah,
essentially what you're doing.
that is exactly what it is, right? And you're right. Rookies are king. Quarterbacks are king generally in the sports card market. Your skill position players, like no one cares about Will Anderson last year. Like his rookie card is just no one cares. But
Right.
I like Will Anderson, nice guy, he's a great player, but no one really cares about offensive, defensive linemen, defensive players as a whole. If you guys are watching, drop a comment. For me, it's quarterbacks. Obviously, I talked about Will Levis. I think his cards increase. I've already said that. I think Drake May is a great guy to buy in cheap. You can probably get his cards $1, under $1 right now, maybe $2. But you could probably get 3 or 4 of his cards compared to one Caleb Williams card. I think he could have just as good a year. And the sneaky guy I like, and I think it might be cheap, is Jared Goff. I think he could have a MVP type year. And if the Lions make a Super Bowl run, his cards could spike later on, right? And you're talking 2016, 2017 rookie
You're
cards.
talking
Like
Rams rookie cards. That's
you're talking Rams rookie cards, right? I said before, I have a really nice Cooper Kupp, Jared Goff, dual Rams patch auto. I love it. It's a great card. I think it's numbered to 25. I think he's a sneaky pick because he could have a career year this year, maybe win a Super Bowl, maybe MVP conversations. That's what I'm looking at. And then I'm also looking at guys who might be headed towards the Hall of Fame in the next couple of years. So Eli Manning is probably going into the Hall of Fame next year. If I'm looking to make money and investment in cards, maybe scooping some Eli Manning cards now, knowing that, hey, when the buzz around his name going to the Hall of Fame might spike his prices a little bit.
And like that's partly a crazy thing about the hobby in general is the fact that doesn't always equate to value, which is wild to me. And like one guy in particular that I think really fits that bill is Drew Brees, where you would think, why is he not among, the larger names in the game in terms of the value of his cards? Yeah, it's still up there, but it's not where it could be. Or should be in some opinions, and he just doesn't sign much that anymore. So again, you're also looking at a rarer name that just is not included in the general. Oh, I know this veteran; he signs all the time, like Joe Montana. Joe Montana is everywhere.
He's
when
everywhere.
it comes to his cards, but that's just what it is.
Yep. So let's rip open some packs as we talk about some fun ways. I'll rip some packs. So, Stephen, what are some fun ways to incorporate cards into fantasy? It looks like we got a CD Lamb, Mac Jones. When we talk about speculations, that was a card that we thought was going to be really well. Didn't do great. I will keep this Josh Allen card. That's always a nice one.
There you go.
Travis Kelce is a good pack right now. Oh, Chris Godwin. I'm pulling some good names here. There's my man Jared Goff, not a rookie card. Here we go. Draft class Will Levis. So here's a rookie card of Will Levis that I think could go up. It's probably worth, minimal one. And then it looks like we've got a rookie Stallions.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, even better. All right.
Bryce Young, yeah. So 2 coming. So let me ask you this question. Bryce Young, Will Levis, who do you think has the better season this year?
I think Bryce Young does. I think they finally got him some weapons that are actually going to help him, and coaching staff that actually knows what they're doing. So I'm very much looking forward to him taking another step.
Interesting. See, I think it's going to be Will Levis, and I've talked about him a ton there. Will Levis is the guy this year. I think they've invested a ton into him. So, any ways that you incorporate cards into your fantasy?
I mean, I'd say the biggest thing is just kind of getting it's almost a temperature check for what the card market is, and where people are valuing certain players. You hate saying it, but there are certain players that get by with some popularity contest bumps that not necessarily should be where they're at. And more often than not, that does tend to translate in value. So I'd say that's probably the one thing that I kind of look at or I'll think about when I'm like going through the rankings. But when it comes to actually selecting players, I don't think you can put that much stock in, because here's the other thing too, is like, and Eli Manning is a perfect example of this, is you can be a great football player, but you might not be a great fantasy player. And you know, that goes for a lot of you know, the legends that you might not necessarily think of.
Yeah, I agree. Something I did last year that I really thought was fun. Daniel Jones rookie card. That's not a rookie, but hey, look, we got Jalen Hyatt syndrome. Is I did a rookie card bet with people last year on Bills games. So Bills were playing the Bengals. I'd find a big Bengals fan, so Andrew Hall, and I did a rookie card bet. Basically, if the Bengals won, I'd buy him basically a rookie card of the Bengals he wanted, and if the Bills won, he would have bought me cards. So he was nice enough to. We obviously didn't want to price each other out, so he wanted some Cam Taylor brick cards, so I got him 2 Cam Taylor brick cards. It's a fun way of adding a little wager into your thing. We got a Saquon Barkley here.
It's also weird seeing, like, because we've
Baker.
been in such a 2024 mode,
Yes.
is just seeing them in their 2023 jerseys if they've
Yes, I
changed.
agree. And that's the thing. So many people have changed teams recently.
Right.
Odell Beckham. There we go. Nice Patty Mahomes.
There you go.
Baker Mayfield. And a draft class contenders from 21. We got a nice little Ed Reed card.
Don't see that very often.
No, you don't. If you guys are watching this and you want these cards, drop a comment. Maybe I'll give some of these away. So
there you go.
Now, let's get into our draft. We are going to draft the rookie cards that we want. We are going to do a draft, a 4-round snake draft, me and Steven, of the rookie cards we wish we had currently. Steven, I'll let you make the first pick as I open this last.
Is it just this year or just in general?
Any rookie card you want in general. So you're like, hey, I want a Babe Ruth rookie card. Like, you can tell me that. You can do whatever you want.
Oh.
James Conner, underrated guy, I think, this year. JT.
You know, I would love
there's a nice Anthony Richardson.
My Bears to have, because I just don't. And I know they're out there, and I know they're not that expensive, and I don't know why I haven't bought one, but I just really want a Walter Payton rookie. Like I really do, and it kills me that I have not bought one. Because I know I've had the opportunity on numerous occasions to do so, but that's definitely the one at the top of my list.
And what's funny is those 70s and 80s, there were very few sets, right? There was maybe 2 sets, maybe a Tops and maybe a Bowman or a Leaf or something. And then you got to the 90s and there was like 18 sets. I did get I'm going to see if you can guess this rookie patch that I got in this pack. It's a quarterback rookie card. Can you guess who it is from 2014 or 2023 rookie class?
You got a patch?
I got a patch.
Rookie class 2023 is a quarterback?
Yes, and he is still on the team that drafted him.
Hendon Hooker.
No, I wish. I'd love a Hendon Hooker.
Dang. He is so heavy in that set.
He is.
It drives me insane. So if it's not him, it's got to be Stetson Bennett the 4th.
No. This will probably go to Michael Kelly Phoenix. It is Clayton Tune.
Oh, okay. All right.
Look at that little rookie patch. No autograph, but we got a patch. So you can get patches in hobby, but obviously it's a Clayton Tune, not Anthony Richardson or something like that. So we'll send that out I'll probably send that to Kelly. She's the mayor of Toontown, so we'll send that. So you want a Walter Payton for my first pick in the draft? I'm going to take my guy, Josh Allen. And I know I said in the notes you don't have to name specific cards, but there's the stained glass cards that are out there that from his rookie year that are just beautiful. They're just a beautiful card. I don't remember what set they're from, but they're absolutely beautiful. That's like if I could get that card. I mean, I don't collect, but I would love to have that card. But a Josh Allen rookie card would be tops of my list for sure.
Yeah,
who's your second pick?
What is the stained glass? This is going to drive me nuts now.
I can't remember who they're from.
It's a Panini set.
Yeah.
I want to say it's Mosaic.
I want to say it's probably Mosaic as well.
It's Prism or Mosaic.
I think it's Mosaic because I've bought Prism and I've
Prism.
never seen one.
Yeah, it's Prism.
So
yeah, no. Okay, so pick two.
Pick two.
You know, I'm this is more of like a future focus for me.
Okay.
I don't know if it's if it's going to work out the way that I hope it will. But and it's frustrating because I used to have one and I sold it because I'm an idiot. Are we doing any sport or is this just football?
We can do any sport. Yeah, do any sport.
Okay. I had a Bowman's Best Shohei Ohtani rookie auto, and I sold it for $185, and I hate myself just about every day.
So that's your Patrick Mahomes card right there.
Yeah, that's the one that I royally screwed up.
Yeah,
so
I hear you.
That's that one. I need another one back.
Yep. And with that in mind, I will take a Mahomes rookie auto. I would love to have just one of those back because I did sell mine. I would love to get that back. Cool. Thanks for turning in. Yeah, we'd love to give you some advice on your team if you just had your first draft. Drop it in the comments. We'll rate your team. So I'll take Mahomes. So you are Walter Payton, Shohei Ohtani. I have Josh Allen, Patrick. Who's your third pick of rookie card you'd want to have?
Michael Jordan. The Fleer Michael Jordan.
The Fleer one.
Yeah, in a much nicer condition, a graded 8 or higher probably.
Yeah,
would be ideal.
At this point, it's a wish list, you might as well take a 10.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that is a beautiful card. It's one of the iconic cards that I think that Michael Jordan that card really set off the 90s in terms of the boom that it took because people wanted that card and it was so iconic. And Michael Jordan was just cross sport, like everyone knew who Michael Jordan was. Everybody wanted that card, and I think that really kind of set the boom for sports cardings in the 90s. For me, it's got to be, I think when you're like the Michael Jordan, for me, it's Tom Brady. Like, I would love to have a Tom Brady card, a rookie card. Again, limited number of them because he was such a late pick. Wasn't really a guy that was in all the sets, wasn't really a headliner for sets. So there's not a ton of his cards out there. So if I get a Tom Brady, rookie card, I'd think that'd be a gem in any collection.
Yeah, no, and I mean, because I think I'm trying to remember what the big one is that everyone goes after. It's like the really hollow, trippy looking thing. And it's so hard to find one that isn't scratched up right now. Because people just didn't know. They did not know what was coming, which is crazy. But again, that's how it goes.
That's how it goes, right? I think that's the weird thing, right? You speculate on cards like I've got a bunch of Davis Webb, from 2017 because it was like, oh, Daniel Jones kind of sucks, or whatever it is. You just speculate, right? Like this Clayton Tune, like it's a speculated card, but Kyler's probably not going anywhere, so Clayton Tune's probably never going to be anything.
Hey, Murray gets injured. It's the Tune show.
It is it's Tune show. So who's your last pick after you got Walter Payton, Shohei Ohtani, and MJ? Who's your last pick of card you'd want to have?
I would say I'd probably be looking at I'm stuck between two. I'm gonna go. I don't want to go with another one I used to have because again I'm kicking myself thinking about all the cards I used to own and I just don't have anymore. The Mickey Mantle rookie, I think would be another big one that I've seen numerous times. Do not have the pocketbooks for it, but yeah.
And when you talk about breaks, the story from 2 years ago, they were opening one pack. They were breaking that pack, and you bought the card in that pack. And I think the guy paid like $10,000 for like the fifth card in the pack. It ended up being a Mickey Mantle. I think it was at the National Card Show. He got the mantle, and you're a pack. You have no clue there's even one in there.
Right.
You get one card and just hopes. And I think he got the mantle, and I think he sold it for whatever it was at the show. Like got it graded and just sold originally. Those are the crazy stories with breaking of you spending a ton of money for one card in a slot in the pack, and that's all you get. And you get into some other people. There was ton of other people in that break that got cards. That got one card, and it just wasn't the mantle, and it just feels less than.
It's literally a penny. I mean, that's the crazy thing again. It's just like there you hear so many positive stories about those types of situations, but in those instances, there's just as many of those as there are the complete busts that you just don't hear about, and that's just what it is.
And it's the same way with fantasy football, right? Like everyone's going to talk about that drafting Puka Nacua in the 19th round or the 5th round of the rookie draft. No one's going to tell you about drafting, N'Keal Harry with the 101 and that busted. Like no one's going to brag about those. We don't brag about our misses. We only brag about our hits.
Exactly.
My last pick, and then we'll look at Cole's team. This is kind of just a sentimental pick. I have a Jim Kelly rookie card. I have an Andre Reed, a Thurman Thomas, Bruce Smith. My other favorite Bills player, and it's funny because I got a picture with him at this year's combine, and I have a picture now from this year's combine and training camp back in the 1990s. Is Chris Spielman. I'm sure his rookie cards are not expensive. I have his jersey hanging up over here. I've always loved Chris Spielman, so it's cool because I have a picture now of me, 8th, 9th grade, him playing on the Bills at training camp, and I have a picture of me from this year at the combine of us together. I would just like to have his rookie card. I don't buy cards. I'm sure it's probably not expensive to get one.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're out there.
Man, I haven't even that name brought back a lot of memories.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would imagine that there's not much, but
no, not much. I mean, I have on my wall. I have a Jim Kelly jersey, a Doug Flutie jersey, a Bryce Pop jersey. I have a Miroslav Satan Sabres jersey, and I have a Chris Spielman jersey. Those are the jerseys I have hanging up on my wall. So I would love a Chris Spielman, rookie card. I've always loved the way he played, and he's just one of those guys. Like when you talk about Bills, guys that just embody Bills, and he only played there for like 2 years. He got him, James Lofton, which I have a James Lofton rookie. He's one of those guys that I just loved. Before we go, let's break down Cole's team. He said it's a 10 team. He had the 5th pick. He's got Bijan, Kamara, Cook, and Spears for running backs. Puka, Smith, which I'm assuming is Devonta Smith. McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Worthy, and Kirk at wide receiver. Laporta, Dak, tight end QB, and Jets defense. Steven, what are some of where do you see his team going this year? Where do you see his weaknesses? What's his strength?
I mean, that's pretty solid. I would say the one thing, I mean, between the wide receivers there, I mean, I think you got Kirk listed last, but I'd honestly say he's your 4th best wide receiver in that list. Very, very deep at wide receiver. He got a top 3 tight end in Laporta. Dak is criminally underrated at quarterback just based on the number of pass attempts he's going to be having in that Dallas offense. I mean, I think your biggest concern is just hoping that, Cook is that guy and he can take another step forward, or if Ray Davis is going to be a menace in Buffalo with what Cook is able to, put up from a fantasy standpoint, and the fact that, is Alvin Kamara still Alvin Kamara, or will he start to near that age cliff? So I think that's your biggest question, but the rest of the team's great.
I agree. The biggest question for me is Puka Nacua. Yes, I think he is still going to be good. Is he going to be as amazing? No, that's nearly impossible to repeat what he did last year. Is he still a wide receiver one on your team? I think Devonta Smith can be your one, but both those guys project to me as like wide receiver 2s where they're going to put up 10 to 15 points every week. I don't think you see a ton of 20-point weeks out of those guys this year. So if Puka takes a bigger step back than I think most people are expecting, do you have enough top-end wide receiver upside? I wish there was some sort of stack in there somewhere with Dak. Like, did you get, could you got Ferguson or a Brandon Cooks or something like this for that little extra added value? I don't love stacking unless you get a value, but I think, for your first draft, I think this is really good.
Oh, yeah.
I think you did great getting depth, very balanced team. Jets defense should be decent. They should be, stopping teams and getting interceptions because the Jets offense should put up points. So you should see a lot of sacks and interceptions from that. Obviously, they got great corners. So for your first draft, I think it's great. If you guys ever have questions, you can always hit up Bridge the Gap on Twitter, or myself, Dustin. Steven, Twitter has been rolling at the bottom, the whole screen. Check out Steven. Before we go, Steven, tell everybody one more time where they can find you and where they can find Top Shelf Breaks and how to get into your breaks.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on Twitter at Steven_Roto. That's Steven with a PH. And also can find Top Shelf Breaks at Top Shelf Breaks, all one word, on Twitter, and topshelfbreaks.com. We have everything listed. I believe there's actually breaks going on right now with CK. We're there usually all night, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, sometimes Saturday as well. And a lot of big lot of big releases coming up, so check them all out and have a lot of fun, a lot of giveaways, and try to just have fun hanging out, talking sports, and everything else in between.
Yeah, we talk sports, we talk wrestling, we talk all kinds of stuff. There's always race going on. And we opened some packs. These are some of the hits. I pulled out the Clayton tune because I'm going to send it to Kelly. But we got a Will Levis rookie card, a parallel Bryce Young rookie. We've got a nice Anthony Richardson and Will McDonald rookie, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. If you guys want these cards, drop a comment. Tell me which rookie quarterback you think is going to have the best year between Caleb, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Bo Nix. You could say Michael Penix if you want. Whoever it is, drop a comment. I'll give it till the end of the week, till next week's show. Next week's show, I'll pull one random person to win the stack of cards that we pulled tonight. Get them sent off to you guys as a free thank you for watching and commenting. Steven, thank you so much for coming on. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation on sports card trading, what that looks like, how you can use that information to bridge the gap between that and fantasy football. If you're watching the show, hit that like and subscribe. We'll see you next week as we bridge the gap between another topic. Hope you guys enjoyed the night. See you later.
Thanks for tuning in to Bridge the Gap.